right, what's going on here? Already we got a problem here. Okay, let's go to the host. Uh-oh. We're going to restart here, folks, if you can hear me. Let's see, something's not right. Of course, we got some issues happening right out of the box here. There we go, there's our hanger. Okay, folks, if you can hear me, we're going to try that again here. All right, folks. Yeah, this is great. I've been practicing here all day. It's been working great. I come back from dinner, and now my camera is not working. So let's just try a little workaround here and see if that will get it done here. There I am. Let's put that up here. For some reason, my normal camera is not working. Anyway, my name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube experiment. It turns out to be much easier to fly a plane than work all these gadgets in here. So I have no idea what just happened there, but we're going to have our little iPad in here, and we have our little chat section. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us here tonight. And welcome you all. I see we got about 12 folks here. So now that we have our little chat room in there, I'm going to keep an eye on that as well. But while I got you here, let's let me know where everybody's at. Got Mark the Man. You can hear me. Where are you from, Mark? And Jay Mullen, I think he is. Where's Jay at? Jay's, if I'm not mistaken, Jay's our guitar playing friend. Is that true? While you guys are, getting rid of your shyness here and posting, maybe it's just the lag here in the stream. I wanted to thank everybody for all the great comments. Justin, north of Denver. Diego John, Washington, D.C. Now we're talking. Mark the Man here in L.A. Good. From Buffalo, Kyle. Good. Now we're talking. Now you guys are getting out of your heads a little bit. Thanks for coming along with me on these little experiments. I've been working... I'm trying to get some kind of live element going into the channel here. Putting together the videos has been a ton of fun, but it's also very tedious, and you sit in the room by yourself here and you spend, for every hour I fly, it seems like I spend 10 trying to get a video out of it. And so you wind up not getting much interaction until you put it up, and it takes a while, and I kind of miss the instant feedback that you get from the live stream. Back in my music business days, I had a little live streaming show called Ren Man Live. If you're a musician or if you're interested, you can type in Ren Man Music and Business over on YouTube, and you'll see that. Let me say hello to Jay Stutz from Huntsville, Alabama. John Kraft from Michigan. Wow, we got a good bunch here tonight. Love it. Anyway, so I've been playing around with this idea of kind of but starting a new live stream where I can talk to folks like yourselves and share our little love of flying that all of us seem to have. Rocket City. Okay, Huntsville, Alabama. I love it. And anyway, I've been sitting here. I got almost like a little studio I've built here over my flight sim area here. And as you can see, I have my virtual hangar here. For any of you folks that have been back to Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota, that is, you probably recognize this view if you've bought a plane there. This is what you see when you walk into the Duluth headquarters. There's a big plate glass window, and they have a hangar, and it has your plane in it when it's being delivered. So anyway, that's what we've got here today. Kyle says you have to find a regular schedule to post on YouTube for the YouTube algorithm to show it to people. I understand that, Kyle, and I've been kind of experimenting in real time here, trying to get it dialed in, and so that's why I purposely waited a little bit later, so that if I stumble and fall, it winds up being a smallish disaster. And true to form here tonight, I go here and I can't figure out why my, let's just see something here. Let me see if we can move that up. Oh, there I am. Okay. Let's try this. Hang on one second. All right, there we go. Oh, now you just got me. Okay. Weird stuff happens in the digital world. So anyway, Kyle, I plan on getting a regular schedule. Once I think that, I'm got something that makes sense and that I can actually manage here as one old guy sitting in his office playing around on the web like a 14-year-old. So anyway, I want to thank all you guys for all the great comments that people have been posting along the way. And tell you what I've been up to. I've been working on some new content. As you know, if you watched the last video, I was in Vegas with a couple of great Cirrus pilots. One is my good friend Ed Waters, who I met. Ed is a terrific pilot. He's one of the Cirrus transition training pilots back on the East Coast in Knoxville, Tennessee. He lives in Pinehurst. So when I bought my plane, they assigned me a transition training person. It was Ed Waters, and so he and I hit it off immediately. Hard not to like a guy who's a pilot and also a member of Pinehurst Country Club. So that was good. But keep doing what we love your videos, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, Kyle. Where did Kyle say you were from? Did you say you're from Buffalo, New York? I bet you it's cold as hell back there. Okay, come on in. Okay, now I've got the Baroness who's invading our cockpit here. You can't. You got to get in further here.
No, it's okay.
You have some?
I'll speak from the balcony.
Okay, great. Okay. Right there, folks. You wonder why we don't do something on schedule, because it's the Casa de Ren here, and people are buzzing in all of the time here. Anyway, enough of all that stuff. As I was saying, I was down I met Ed Waters down in Pinehurst, North Carolina. We've since become really good buddies, and I kid around when I call him Obi, Ed Kenobi. He's like my human Garmin Perspective Plus manual. In fact, he might be the only guy I know that has read all 594 pages of it, although he claims he just glanced at it. Trust me, that's not true. Anyway, so he flew out here and set this whole thing up with another great pilot called Chuck Calley. He was a Cirrus pilot. He was also the chief Cirrus factory pilot, and a wonderful guy, also a golfer. So anyway, I went to Vegas. We shot a bunch of content. For some of you folks that are Cirrus pilots, down here, if you can, just tell me all the folks that actually fly a Cirrus here. Because Ed is doing, Ed put together a little bit we did in the cockpit before we left for Vegas about setting up all your pilot profiles in your Cirrus planes. And if you have a Cirrus Perspective Plus system, or even I suspect on the Garmin 1000 NXI, getting your pilot profile right is important, because it really affects what you see on your screen, and you can customize it any way you want. But it's really, really, really deep and a lot of stuff. So I think once I get done editing the video, it's going to be kind of like a video version of that Garmin manual when it comes to setting up your profiles. Okay. Kyle flies a TBM and a Sling TSI. Tell me about that Sling TSI. I had a Sling, was my very first plane, a Sling 4. I've seen the TSI, I haven't flown it. And the TBM, I wish I had a TBM. I feel like I've been in the cockpit a million times watching Steve-O Knievo. Anybody watch Steve-O Knievo here? Watch a lot of his videos. He's like the Mick Jagger of YouTube pilots here. He's got a big following there, and I love his attention to detail. Anyway, that's the stuff that we've got coming up. But tonight, what I thought we would do is do a little sneak preview on the part 2 of this video of me coming back from Las Vegas, which is kind of an ass-backwards way to do the trip. You'd think I'd start with the beginning and go back, but it was actually easier and fresher in my mind to edit the video back from Las Vegas. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play that video, and hopefully, folks, this is all going to work properly. You just never know. And so anyway, along the way, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat room here. And And then we can stop the video. I'll stop the video and give you a little bit of commentary. If it's too much, don't be afraid of offending me. I worked as a rock and roll manager for years, almost impossible for you to offend me. So anyway, let's take a look at the video and see if I can get it all fired up here, and we will get going. This is part 2 of my flight from Las Vegas Henderson Airport, Kilo Hotel November Delta to Kilo Sierra Mike Oscar. Let's give it a go here. Is that not going to work? Please work. Oh, come on, honey. It's not working again. Oh my God. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to have to do this old school for some reason. My controller is not working properly here. Don't you love it? Let's go play video. There it is. Okay. Can you see that? Let's give it a go. All right. We're going to start. We're flying over the desert. Let's pick up the flight right here. All right, so we're flying over the desert. As you recall in the last video, we went through our takeoff briefing. We did our pre-flight. We flew a departure procedure out of Las Vegas Henderson. We had some issues with the oxygen sensors. I got all my oxygen stuff sorted out. We had an autopilot enunciation that was, there I am. If that's too much and you want to kick me out of the plane, just say it here in the chat room. I won't be offended. Anyway, now we're flying over the desert. And the truth is, once you get up to 12,000 feet on this run from LA to Vegas or Vegas back to Santa Monica, there's not much to see and not much to do. A radio call here and there. But on this particular day that I was flying back, as you can see there, over the desert, over the mountains, was all kinds of snow. I think it was John earlier, or Jay Mullen had asked if we had any snow out here. And we have had a bunch of snow on this last storm. And so what was kind of interesting is you never see snow out in the desert, but today we did. And it's a beautiful sight, actually, going over that desert. One of the things I like about flying over the desert is, God forbid that engine ever went out. Lots of flat. No buildings, no telephone poles, and that's kind of comforting here. Let's see, we got Diego John, looks low. What's the altitude? That altitude was 12,000 feet, my friend. All right.
Cirrus 8 Foxtrot Sierra, clear direct Bogat, cross Bogat at and maintain 8,000.
Clear direct Bogat at 8,000 and maintain 8,000, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Outside radar, sir.
Okay, I'm going to stop the video right here and talk about vertical navigation. There are a couple of features in the Cirrus Perspective Plus that I love. One in particular is the VNAV functions. At this point in the flight, when we got our instructions to descend to 8,000 and go direct to Bogat, which is the initial transition point of that Kimo 3 arrival, we're probably 60, 70 miles away, which obviously gives us plenty of time to set that up. And in days gone by, I guess, days when I wasn't flying, we would have had to figure this out by hand. We'd had to figure, okay, we're going X amount knots, we've got 3 miles we're going per minute, and we've got, X amount of miles to get there. We've got 12,000, we need to get to 8, we need to lose 4. So we could have done all that arithmetic and calculated a top of descent. But if you have a Cirrus, if you have an autopilot system in a great navigation device, why not use that? And so that's what we're doing today. The key is a 3-step process for you folks that don't understand. As I was flying to Las Vegas with Ed Waters, he had a great acronym to help you remember those 3 steps. And if I've learned anything about the aviation world, the aviation world loves a good acronym. And this one was simple. It was build it, bug it, and bash it. And here's what that means, okay? First step in that build it is you got to scroll down to the waypoint, in this case, Bogat, which I'm going to do right here. It will just go, play.
Terminated, change to advisory frequency approved.
Okay, now I've scrolled down to Bogat. The next thing you got to do in building that is to put in the altitude restriction, which in this case was 8,000 feet. So let's do that.
Tag 95 Papa, Roger. You were doing air work or you're turning back, Roger?
Okay, so let's set 8,000.
Okay, the next thing we're doing now that we've built it, we're going to go build it and bug it. We're going to set our altitude select to 8,000. Why is that 8,000 important? Again, if you're not familiar with the system, and one of the things I consistently screwed up until I got it right was you can do everything right, but if you don't set your altitude select to either match at that 8,000 or below 8,000, VNAV won't engage. So I can't tell you how many times I thought I did everything right, forgot to set the VNAV altitude, and VNAV didn't start. There's a little reminder that the system gives you later on, but let's continue on, and now let's go ahead and bug it here.
Altitude. And let's say engage VNAV.
Okay, so now we've bugged that altitude. The next thing we got to do is bash it. And that might be a little bit dramatic, but it's a good way to remember that to hit that little VNAV button, make sure that little white light that you see lit up is done, and that is exactly what we've done here.
Okay, so our V path is set. We've got 8,000 set. Here is our altitude restriction and boget. It's up here is our VNAV reference altitude. And we've got our altitude select set for 8,000, and V path is armed as you can right here.
Okay, I got to put this one up on the board. This is the part I love about doing something live, folks. Doing the videos, you want to make them perfect, and I go freaking crazy, drive myself crazy trying to get it right. But here's a great comment. Ace Rerack said he heard there's an SR22 giveaway on this channel. No. But God, wouldn't that be great? Maybe if anybody at Cirrus is looking to junk their plane, instead of having all those doggy pet adoptions, we'll have a Cirrus SR22 adoption program here right on the Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. Hey, Raymond, great to see another video. Hope you're well. Okay, great. VNAV is a great crossfit. Okay, so let's get back to the video. Enough childish misbehaving here. Let's get back there and get back to the video here.
So we're closing in. Let's see if we got.
All right, John, I will sign you up. Okay, so now we're approaching that VNAV top of descent.
There it is. Okay. So now we're all good there. Okay, in about 45 seconds, we should start down for boget.
Okay, now if all goes well, that VNAV path should light up.
Noted here.
The
Noted on
VNAV,
big map. Let's
the
go.
VNAV also calculates that top of descent.
Go back to the flight plan. 11 seconds, we should be starting down. VPath should start flashing green here.
Up at 498 for traffic.
And there it is.
Maintain
And
11,000.
we are starting down here. 500,
11,000 south of
about 500 feet per minute here.
All right, so everything worked as planned, and that's always a great feeling when all your automation does what it's supposed to do. And I find that the more I practice, the better I've gotten and the less surprises I get in the cockpit. So here we go. Now we're going to descend on down here. Nothing to worry about at all. And it's a wonderful feeling when you're flying your plane and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Back to the video.
Now there's a look at our Kimo 3 arrival right here. See, it says expect 8,000. There's our alert, boget, and then we'll hook up with the Kimo 3 arrival.
Now, I'm going to stop the video again here and give a little editorial or a little observation. In that Garmin Perspective Plus system, we've loaded the Kimo 3 arrival. So when you are on that map mode in the MFD, when you hit that charts button, the system is smart. It knows what's coming next in your flight. It knows where you are in that flight, whether you're in an arrival procedure or you're in an approach procedure. So here, when I click that charts button, it immediately brought up the Kimo 3 arrival. Now, for the folks there that are watching tonight, they might not have a Cirrus Perspective system or a G1000 setup. Here's the good news. For about $700-800, which is the cost of an iPad Mini 4 and a Pro subscription to ForeFlight, you can get everything that you see on this Perspective Plus system, and you can put it on your iPad and you can take it home with you. You can take it with you in any plane you fly. So it's a beautiful world we're living in here. But anyway, here's the Kimo 3 arrival, and you'll see our little plane is off to the right, and we're going to join there at Bogut, and that's going to be kind of our on-ramp to that Kim 03 arrival. The interesting point about these charts is that once we get a little closer into Santa Monica, the system will also be able to detect where we are in that flight, and when I hit the charts then, after I've loaded that RNAV 21, it'll show only the RNAV 21 stuff and will not display this. So anyway, back to the video.
For all the newer Cirrus pilots here, when you're in map mode, you click this charts button right here. You'll notice that what it does, it pre-selects the Kim 03 arrival, which is the next segment of your flight. As I get into the Kim 03 arrival, when I hit charts, it's going to give me the procedure at Santa Monica.
November 8 Foxtrot Sierra, no delay through 9,000 traffic, moving to your 12 o'clock, 3 miles southeast on 9,500 indicated, type unknown.
I'm at 9,200 right now, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Okay, I'm going to stop it again. One of the reasons I love cockpit video, and all kidding aside, why I started using it early on, it wasn't to post the videos on YouTube initially. When I first started flying and I got my little Sling 4, I quickly put a camera behind my head here. Didn't have the instrument cam at the time. And the reason I did that is because we're going to do here tonight what you can never do in an actual plane. And that is stop the action, give a think about what it is you're doing, and try to figure out whether you're doing it right or whether there's something you could do better. And here's a great example. The ATC controller tells me, hey, Steve, you've got a plane at 9,500 and it's fairly close to you, and he asked me to get down lower faster, in so many words. And instead of doing exactly what I was told, I decided to give him my location, which is not what he asked to do. So what I should have done was push that nose down a little bit with my vertical speed. Even if that broke the VNAV profile, I could have reset that again here. So the moral of the story for me after watching this, and something I'll take into the next slide, when somebody tells me there's traffic ahead, get lower faster, I'm going to get lower faster. So anyway, food for thought for all of us. You know, do what you're told and do it quickly.
And November 39er uniform, you have traffic just off to your nose, half a mile. November 39er uniform, do you have the Cessna just off to your nose in sight?
That's affirmative. I have traffic in sight, 9-3.
I got the traffic in sight in front of me, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
November 8 Foxtrot Sierra, Reg, thank you. November 8 Foxtrot Sierra, contact SoCal approach 124.6, 24.6 today.
24.6, 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you for all your help. SoCal approach, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra, 8,600 descending for 8.
Maintaining VFR outer above 3,000 for takeoff.
There's our bell for 2 under
And,
below
contact
8,000
our
for 8,000. There's Bogut at 8,000.
So just as planned, the plane had got to Bogut at 8,000, and now we're turning in. We're going to be turning into that Kim 03 arrival.
180 vector 2 final approach course.
Fly heading 180 vectors for final 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
I'm going to stop the video now. I don't know how many of you folks have actually flown in LA, but one of the things I've learned from in my short time as a pilot is you're talking about a guy here who loves a plan, right? And get married to the plan very easily. What I've learned is the plan always changes, and here we are flying an approach on an arrival that I've done, you know, hundreds of times it seems like right now. And the first thing that happens is this guy's giving me a vector right as I get to that Kim 03 arrival, which is kind of unusual based on my past experience. So it was kind of nice to see, because what he's going to do, and you'll see it play out here in a minute, he's going to give me the easiest RNAV 21 approach that I've ever done in my 4 years of flying, and I've done that approach at least a couple hundred times into Santa Monica by now. And so it was a nice start to this, but a reminder, no matter what you think the plan is, you got to be on your toes, and it really does help to have a great autopilot system where you can just effortlessly move between nav and heading mode. So back to the video. Pardon me for interrupting again. Hey there, Double Dog Dare. Yeah, Stewart, Florida. All righty. And good point, Duck. The video is secondary. The flying is the most important part. But you can get it straight and get them both right.
Plan, let's load the approach here, which is RNAV 21. The darts in there. Minimums are 440. Let's activate vectors final. Let's get our ATIS here. If we have information to echo.
Now I'm going to stop the video, excuse me, and answer a couple questions. Mark the Man 61 says vectors to darts. No, it actually wasn't vectors to darts. It was the initial approach fix to the RNAV 2.1 is darts, of course. And all the time I've flown into Santa Monica, I have never once got to go direct to darts and join the approach. Never happens. It's always vectors to final. What's interesting in this case is that when he gave me the vector, it kind of pointed me at darts, which is kind of unusual because usually they're pointing you between darts, which is the initial approach fix, and movie, which is the final approach fix. There's not a lot of distance between those two waypoints, and so what typically happens is you wind up making a very steep descent into that Santa Monica approach, and if you're not keeping your speed managed the whole way, you'll blow through it every time. And if you don't believe it, go check out some of my early videos where I chronically blew that approach over and over again to the point where I wanted to give up, and I didn't. So anyway, let's see what else we got in there. We've got Justin Gusick from KPTK. I'm not sure exactly where that is. I suppose I could look it up over here on my iPad. Great to have you on board. If you have any other questions, folks, go ahead and post them in the chat room here, and I'll try to get to all of them. Okay, let's get the pilot out here and start the video.
Santa Monica Airport information, Echo 1951, Zulu observation, wind variable at 4, visibility 10, clear below 12,000.
7,000.
Just maintain 7,000, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Now, another one here. I don't know about you guys. It seems like every time you've got a task that you want to focus on, getting the weather, right? And thankfully I've got Autopilot as I'm flying over these mountains. During the summer, you'd be rocking and rolling here with all that updraft, right? So I'm trying to make sure I've got my altimeter. I'm trying to make sure I've got the active runway. Try to make sure I've got the winds in the active approach here. And sure enough, it seems like every time ATC will come in and go, no, here's another ball, juggle that one. Fortunately, this time it was something pretty easy, which is a descent to 7,000. But I never cease to be amazed at how often ATC will ruin my little parade here. Back to the video. You should call up Beth and buy that plane, Scott.
1 Zulu observation, wind variable at 4, visibility 10, clear below 12,000. Temperature 13, dew point 4, altimeter 29 or 9 or 2. VOR, RNAV, visual approaches in use, landing and departing runway 21. Hazardous weather information for California coastwaters available on flight service. Advise on this contact, you have information, Echo.
Hey, Scott, somebody was telling me about Beth Duff, who's got the greatest gig in Cirrus, selling to all those techie folks up there in the Bay Area. By the way, if you've ever flown into the Bay Area, folks, and you go into any of those airports like...
Checklist. Oxygen not required. Altimeter is set. Landing light is on. Fuel system is on the fullest tank. Got brakes. We're good.
If you ever go into those airports at Palo Alto or San Carlos, you'll see...
We're going vectors to final is set. All good. Let's go back to our map here.
You'll see more Cirruses per square inch than any airports in the world.
Go for our charts, which is now going to pull up 2-1. Our missed approach is climb 600. Right, climbing right turn. 5,000 is our missed approach altitude. Direct K-pop.
Now, I know at least somebody's out there going, hey, Ren, you can see forever, the sun's shining, why would you waste your time putting down this missed approach information? And in general, you'd be right. But another lesson I learned here recently on I guess it was, somebody cut me off on the way into the final approach at Santa Monica, and, you know, I for me, it felt like a near miss. It felt like the guy was in the cockpit with me, but other pilots suggested that it wasn't really that close. In any event, it was a great reminder that even on a, quote, normal approach, when you've done something 1,000 times and you think it's going to be routine, nothing winds up being routine. And on that particular flight, I was flying a VFR flight plan, so I just executed a go-around. Had I been on a IFR plan, I would have been required, at least at the outset, to do the missed approach. So here I am making sure that I get that part right, hoping that I never ever have to use it. So back to the video.
3, Sadie and hold. Okay, got it.
I do monitor those comms, Kyle, but when you're flying here in LA, there is so much chatter.
Now, which is key on this darts approach here. They're going to jam us in there. Pointing us right at movie, actually.
Okay, right here we're getting into that place where you actually want to really maintain.
Approach 8 Foxtrot Sierra level 7,000.
8 Foxtrot Sierra, rudder, you can expect lower in about 1 more mile. The MVA area is 7,000 right now.
In this area, you really got to be conscious of your speed, and you're right there as a little example of where I'm so conscious about getting down early at Santa Monica that I've made it a habit to just kind of let the controllers know where I am, and it's my probably less than subtle way of saying, here I am, are you going to get me lower soon? And at first I used to worry about bothering the ATC guys. I'm less concerned about it today because I realize they're there to help me. And so little tip for some of the folks here, don't be shy about pinging your favorite controller and letting them know you want to get a little lower.
Thank you so much.
8 Foxtrot Sierra, fly heading of 170, descend and maintain 6,000.
170, descend, maintain 6,000, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Interesting vector here. He's actually angling me further away from darts, which is actually going to make this a much more comfortable approach into Santa Monica on that RNAV 21 than I've ever had before. And so you'll see the net result of that here in a second.
We got some flaps in there to help us keep slow. Coming up on darts here. It's going to give us a turn to the heading.
Another little lesson / observation tip that I've learned. In the Cirrus Gen 6, you can put those flaps in at $150. And once you do hit those flaps, it's like hitting the brakes. Having those flaps in on this particular approach a bit earlier rather than later allows you to, A, keep the plane at a steady speed, but more importantly, it allows you to do that while you're pitching down at a much steeper descent, which is exactly what is required to make this approach. So it's something I've learned the hard way. And I think you could file this under learning to use all the tools in that toolkit to keep your speed control and to make sure that you're flying that plane, the plane is not flying you. In my early days in my Cirrus, if I can be really honest, my great fear was that I had a lot more plane than I had pilot, and I'm feeling a little bit better about that equation these days. Back to the video.
8 Foxtrot Sierra, descend and maintain 4,300.
Descend, maintain 4,300, 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
There you all are.
A little bit more power. Got good steady speed here.
Give you all a little acknowledgement. I think everybody who showed up here.
Foxtrot Sierra, you're 6 miles from movie, turn right heading up 180, maintain 3,000 till established on the final approach course, cleared RNAV runway 21 approach.
Right 180, maintain 3,000 till established, cleared for the RNAV 218, Foxtrot Sierra.
Those are the words I never get tired of hearing when I getting back home.
SoCal departure, ready to contact, climb and maintain 13,000.
Okay, so you'll see here we're going to actually turn into that approach here in a second.
840, turn right heading at 340, one able direct flap, resume the departure.
And we're actually going to pick up the glide path at about 4,000 feet, which has never happened to me before. I just wish the approach was this comfortable all the time. And there she goes.
That's glide path early. Great.
November 8 Foxtrot Sierra, contact Santa Monica Tower 120.1.
Contact Santa Monica 8 Foxtrot Sierra. Thanks for your help.
November.
Santa Monica Tower, Sierra 768 Foxtrot Sierra inbound with Echo on the RNAV 21.
Sierra 768 Foxtrot Sierra, Santa Monica Tower, report field in sight, 12 o'clock, 900 miles.
Got the field inside 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
November 8 Foxtrot Sierra, roger, clear visual approach.
Cleared visual approach to runway 21, 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you. Okay, let's get our mixture full. Flaps not all the way in yet, we'll do those in a second. Okay, we're heading home.
Now, that's a view I never get tired of seeing here. Hazy, California. When it's hazy out here in California, for you folks that have never flown around here, it's good news because that means that hot air is not rising up. And I really could see the airport out there. But that's my favorite view of LA from the air. Slightly hazy and runway in sight.
Got our power set at 29, so we're all set. No observed traffic in front of us. I go no targets, a couple targets over Santa Monica. A little bit of power here, we're getting a little speedy.
I'm interested to know how many of you pilots are familiar or are fans of the pathways on the Cirrus. I used to fly a Sling 4 double dog dare, the only plane I owned before my Cirrus.
Okay, let's set 5,000 for our missed approach. Not going to need that today, but you never know. Airborne, Santa Monica approaching runway 21, all right. Thousand feet above minimums. Crossing over the beautiful Hillcrest Country Club, where I spent the better part of my daylight youth. Looks fantastic. And across the street, Rancho Park. Alrighty, keep our eyes on the road here now. Get our flaps in here. Last flaps, slowing us down here. At 29% power, we got 1 red, 3 whites. And 2 reds, 2 whites. $400 to minimums. No traffic in the area in front of us.
Helicopter 5 Delta Alpha, frequency change approved, that's squawk VFR. Squawk VFR, frequency approved.
Now, I can't resist now that I have you folks. I don't know how many of you guys watched that video of the near miss at Santa Monica. I'm not going to try to make light of my less than professional language in that moment. If you folks didn't know before, I got a little bit of a potty mouth, and it doesn't take much to set it off. And one thing we got so many comments on the video. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to see everybody get involved about it. But one of the things that actually kind of got in my head is that somewhere at that video, I made an edit at the very end of that video talking about how I wasn't really scanning and didn't see anybody until I got to the golf course. And I can't tell you how many comments I got about that. I was somehow trying to mislead everybody. I made one edit, and it was because I watched the video, and that little piece of green you see just to the left of the camera is not, in fact, a golf course, but that's where I picked up the plane that was coming in front of me. And the reason I picked it up there is because it was so difficult to see planes down low with all the buildings in LA. But just for the record, I wanted that whoever made those comments or thought that I was trying to mislead people, that was definitely not the case. I misspoke. The problem with me is anytime I see a piece of green grass, I think golf course, but I misspoke. And anyway, enough of that. Who cares, right? there's the golf course on my left. Now imagine a plane coming over there, and that's where I saw that guy's white wings.
Yeah, just going to kick off autopilot.
Okay, I like to get that autopilot off over the freeway.
Yaw damper's gone. Let's pull back our power just a little bit.
Actually, the yaw damper comes back and goes off at 200 feet in the Cirrus.
Yep. Angle of attack up here.
Inbound with Echo.
Cessna 5148 Victor, Santa Monica Tower, enter right base or make a right traffic, runway 21, and say altitude.
48 Victor, we're at 3,500. Right base, runway 21.
Cessna 48 Victor, roger, wind 210 at 5, runway 21, clear to land.
Runway.
All righty.
Clear to land, 48 Victor.
Try to keep it on that center line. Keep it in the middle of the fairway.
Okay, running out of power there. Alright. Not my greatest landing, but we're on the ground. Okay, let's let her, no need to cook those brakes, let's let her go all the way down here. Laps up.
All right, we're going to take some questions when we're done here.
Contacting ground 8 Foxtrot Sierra, thank you. Santa Monica ground, Cirrus 768 Foxtrot Sierra, going to exit here at Alpha 2.
Cheers, 768 Foxtrot, Cheers, Santa Monica ground, roger, and say you're parking.
Northwest parking, just a little quick left turn here.
8 Foxtrot Sierra, roger, taxi, parking, V Alpha.
Taxi parking B Alpha, thanks for your help guys. 8 Foxtrot Sierra.
Hey, ready?
Who's that?
YouTube subscriber.
Hey, how you doing?
You got to love that.
Safe flying.
These pilots were an enthusiastic bunch here, and that always brings a smile to my face there, having some of our YouTube buddies
We're on the ground now here in
acknowledging.
Santa Monica, California. I want to thank everybody for joining me on today's flight. I'm going to be posting some great content from my trip up to Henderson with Ed Waters and Chuck Calley. So I want to thank both of them for their time. And I want to thank you folks for supporting our channel. My name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron, and this is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel.
All right, let's. Okay, there you have it. Let's go put the video chat. Whoop. Hang on, back to the wrong hat, Rocky. Sorry. Let's go hangar chat. Okay, there we are. I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. If I got some time, we can do some questions here. Diego John want to know, when's your favorite time to fly, early or late in the day? Early. I'm an early guy. I love getting out early. And whenever I fly with my wife, she goes, when do we got to go? I go, as soon as we can get in the plane. So on weekdays at 7 o'clock, you can start it up at Santa Monica, 8 o'clock on the weekends. But for me, I love flying early. And there's a practical reason for it, as I like to explain to the Baroness. And that is because the air doesn't have time to get all jumbled and screwed up. And so that's why I like flying early in the morning. Which do you fly more, IFR or VFR? Greg Jordan asks. I actually fly IFR a lot more, to be honest. Let's see, there we go. I'm going to move over here in the screen here. And the reason, Greg, that I like flying IFR is it turns out that I actually enjoy the supervision that's involved with IFR flying. There's some pressure in the early days because you have to execute in an accurate and a timely fashion, right? And it's one of the reasons that I went out and flew IFR so much, so I could get comfortable with taking direction. Not just when it's sunny, but when you're in the clouds, when it's windy, when it's bumpy, when there's lots of traffic around, and some pressure. So that IFR routine and the discipline required to handle it is strangely just works for my particular personality. In my old day gig, I used to have to do a lot of that kind of juggling and moving and reacting and executing on the fly. So it's something I'm comfortable with. Ironically, though, when I fly VFR is when I get sloppy. And you've seen some of those examples on my YouTube channel here, some of the videos, and it's now something I try to go out and make a little bit more of a balance. But in general, I like flying IFR. I definitely like flying IFR in the Los Angeles terminal area. Because you're guaranteed to get flight following, if you will. And even though it's pretty easy to get flight following around Los Angeles when you're flying VFR, as I've flown across the country, I find out that some of the controllers are not nearly as interested in flight following VFR planes. Kyle says, I always fly IFR for the best flying and extra eyes on you. I think that's, I agree with that. Any tips on buying a plane, ownership, plane partnerships? Well, Duckbo, that's a great question. If you're asking me, I'll go backwards. If you're asking about partnerships, I think a lot of that depends on your particular personality. For better or worse, I tended to do better working solo, and I think in many ways that explains, my career path in the music business, winding up being a manager. I worked at big companies and kind of went back and forth between working on my own and working at big companies. And it turned out that for me, I'm much better working solo. So partnerships, when it comes to finances and planes and repairs and damage and so forth, always seem like a tricky way to go for me personally. But that said, buying a plane is no small endeavor. I paid a lot more for my Cirrus than I paid for my first house. In fact, my first plane that I bought, that Sling 4, cost me more than my first house. So I understand the need for that. Just recently, even, my plane would sit around as much as I fly. It would sit around from time to time. And a good friend of mine, an attorney friend of mine, was taking his IFR lessons, or getting his IFR rating. And I'd flown with him a bunch and got comfortable with him flying. So I actually leased a few hours to him. Not a partnership, but just, a much more cozy, temporary, easy to get out of relationship. The one thing I've learned about partnerships, they're easy to get into, very difficult to get out of, so you got to choose your partners carefully. Any tips on buying a plane? My tip would be, make sure you're going to fly the hell out of it. Otherwise, it's probably not worth it. I was talking to a pilot friend that I met recently who just got it started, flying. Literally, he's got 10 or 12 hours and has already bought a plane. And I worry that perhaps he got a little ahead of the game here. I made sure that I wanted to fly, and then I bought my Sling 4 because I wanted to have a consistent plane to fly, and I did, but I flew the hell out of that little sucker. I noticed you keep your hands on the controller a lot when the autopilot. Is that just a good habit, or did they teach that at the Cirrus training? Justin, they didn't teach me, to do that. I think I do less of it today because I watch comments like that on the video. I think I put my hand there just because I want to rest my hand somewhere. But I think also because just in case something goes wrong, I want to have my hand there. So it's probably, I don't want to say it's a nervous habit, it's just a habit of mine. And probably, again, some crazy personality trait I have. People that know me over the years would tell you that I used to sit in meetings with a pencil or a fork at dinner with my golf grip too, so it's probably some need to have my blue blankie close at hand here. Kyle wants to, all depends on your flying mission money you got, always better for one person involved just going, okay, that's good advice there, Kyle. Okay, Lop39 Full says, how do you keep track of all the airworthiness directives and service bulletins for your plane? Does your mechanic do all of that for you, or you do it yourself? Well, the honest answer is, I'm friends with Ed Waters, so I hear about a lot of that stuff from Ed. I talk to a lot of other Cirrus pilots, and so when you're kind of in that little network of folks in the Cirrus world, which I affectionately call my cult that I joined, the Cirrus pilots, you kind of keep up to speed on that stuff. And what I don't know then, the guys over at Kim Davidson Aviation here in Santa Monica, who are just the greatest guys around, literally right across the runway from me, they keep me up to speed on all of that stuff here. How often do you go out either on your own or with a CFI to do some really serious VFR type maneuvers, 45, 60 degrees, steep turns, slow flight, so that you maintain a high degree of feel? Well, LA to BKK. I do try to still take some training from time to time. I posted some videos a while back with a great instructor by the name of Jason Miller, who is based out of San Carlos, and he has a website and a podcast called The Finer Points. And terrific pilot. And I met Jason because he puts together these pilot adventures. And while I still had my sling, I went on a pilot adventure up into the Sierra Nevada mountains. Every year, my family and I go up to Lake Tahoe for the last 23 years. So that was my introduction to Jason. But we went up and practiced emergency procedures, slow flight, and all kinds of stuff. And I think it's a really good thing to do. I have my Cirrus basically cockpit setup simulator here at my house, and I do some maneuvers here and so forth. Not quite the same as in the plane, but same idea. Jeff Gerber said, I saw you did a cruise climb in the previous. Why did you do cruise climb versus full power? My C said it's more efficient and safer to use full power. That's a great. Did I say great? You silly wabbit? A great question there, Jeff. Most of the time, I do a full power climb. Right? On the flight from Santa Monica to Vegas with Ed, we were going up and we were on our way to 12,000 feet, and I think we were at 10 and got another climb. You know, they step you up when you're going through the LAX Bravo airspace. And so it was only about 2,000 feet. So Ed suggested, hey, look, we're good. Let's just keep it in cruise climb. That way you don't have to, do the mixture and have to repeat a lot of procedures. And the key item was to keep an eye on those temperatures, right? And so it worked out pretty good. I would never do that from the ground, but on those last couple step-ups that we typically get here in the LAX airspace, I've actually done, and I do keep an eye on those, but typically I'm doing full power, full climb, and again, some of that's just because I'm a creature of habit. But on those small climbs where you got 2,000 feet and you're already going, I don't think it's a horrible thing. Do you think you'll grow from the SR to a more performance-based aircraft like my TBM 930? Biazzi, I wish that were the case, but probably the only way I'm going to get in a TBM 930 is if you happen to be in Santa Monica and invite me to sit shotgun. I'd have to go back to work for that, and I think if it was going to buy a TBM 930, I think I'd buy a Cirrus Vision Jet. I've been in that one, and it's just it's gorgeous, and performance-wise, it might not be quite up to the TBM 930, but it sure was easy to fly, particularly after you've been flying a Cirrus. Let's see, what else we got here? Boom, other than the initial cost of Cirrus, what is the approximate yearly cost of ownership? Diego John wants to know. Diego John, I've actually keep very close track of those numbers, and I've contemplated putting out a video talking about the cost of ownerships, but part of me concerned. I don't know, but there's a part of me that it's expensive. I'll say that. My maintenance costs are pretty routine, except mine tend to be a little bit higher than most Cirrus pilots, but mostly because I fly a lot. I've been through more brake pads. I've been through more tires. I've been through more oil, just because I fly a lot. Even in this past year with the whole COVID hoo-ha going on, I flew 180 hours. The year previous, I flew in excess of 300 hours. So it's pretty expensive. The cost of buying a plane now with the interest rates low, and that's the big number, is probably as good as it's going to get. My costs could be more expensive if there were hangars available in Santa Monica, but they're not. So I park my plane out on the tie downs, and I've invested in some covers, and I cover my plane from wingtip to wingtip and from the prop back to the tail. So my costs are fairly reasonable. The fuel costs under the COVID has been a lot lower, and that's made a big difference, particularly when you fly a lot. Somebody told me, and I don't know if it's true, that the average Cirrus pilot flies about 60 hours a year. And for me personally, I'd be nervous just flying 60 hours a year, whether I could keep up with the plane here, and that I would lose my chops. You have a very nice airplane cover. Saw them in one of your videos. Really good coverage of the aircraft. That's Bruce's aircraft covers, folks. And I'm not in the endorsement business. I don't get any money from any of you guys. Excuse me while I take a little sip here. But those Bruce's aircraft covers, guys, are terrific. They have great workmanship. They have great pride of what they do. I'm about ready to send back my covers and have them restitch them, because when I decided to clean my covers on my own, I did it with a very stiff brush and helped take off some of the stitching. And they're going to fix that up for me and send it back to them. Jay Slaughterbeck, I did my acceptance flight with Dan at Cirrus. He mentioned he flew back to you with you. I'm going to tell you a funny story, Jay. I did fly back with young Dan Pemble, who, when I met him in Duluth, Minnesota, what I did is I bought my plane and I did one of these lease backs to Cirrus, where you lease it back to them for 90 days is part of a tax, avoidance, legal tax avoidance plan here in California. And anyway, so I called up my sales guy and I asked him, I said, hey, do you think it would be okay if I flew back to Minnesota and flew with your Cirrus pilot to California? Because what they would do is they would take the plane from Duluth, they would deliver it in California by flying to Needles, California, getting a gas receipt, and then they take the plane out to Oklahoma City and they let one of their sales representatives use it for 90 days as a demo plane. Anyway, young Dan, who is just about the most innocent kid I'd ever seen in my life, we started talking. He'd never watched Star Wars. He didn't watch TV. He didn't listen to the radio. And so is a little intro to the culture world that we live in. I turned my XM radio on to Hip Hop Nation just to give Dan a dose of the real world here. And I think he was shocked and horrified a little bit. But a great kid, great pilot, and I really enjoyed flying with him. But I'll never forget the look on his face when I was playing some of that Hip Hop Nation stuff and some rock stuff. Anyway, good kid. I understand he's gotten married now. 60 hours is very low. I try to fly 2 to 3 times a week. Kyle, that's a good idea. We did a CMA lease back as well. Jay, you're based out here in LA, I take it? That's good stuff. What else we got here? What's the G1000 perspective tip you suspect is underutilized but valuable? Watch the upcoming video with Ed Waters. There's so many levels of that Cirrus Perspective Plus system. I mean, it is deep. And for the folks that are just getting familiar with it, one of the best tips I could give you about that Cirrus Perspective thing, didn't happen in the cockpit. The best tip I could give you is, if you're just learning and getting familiar with that system, go down to Walmart or go online to Walmart, which is what I did. Buy yourself a generator and one of those little mini start packs from Aircraft Spruce or Sporties, and plug it into the side of the plane while you're on the ground with a cup of coffee and that manual, and spend some time getting used to those instruments and all the capabilities that are in there. That's my great tip. It starts outside the plane, which is do your homework on the ground. It's a lot safer for you and everybody else. Double Dog, you said it best. Proficiency is cheaper than an accident. So you got to fly, but you got to be ready when you fly, is what I found out. So anyway, that would be my tip. Get a generator in one of those start packs, and you'll get proficient at the system, and it'll be safer for you and everybody else. Let's see if I miss anything. Other costs I would have really got by playing. All right. How often do you go out and get it on your own? I think that's about it. Any more questions here? We got a great crowd here tonight. This was a lot of fun, so I apologize for the words. Let me ask you a question while I got you here. If you were interested in talking to some folks, as I mentioned, back in my music business days, I had a little web show we called Ren Man Live. And then part of that show was I talked to all kinds of people in the music industry, promoters, lawyers, managers, agents, record executives, rock stars, and all of that. And what we did, we introduced those people to people out there in the real world, musicians and people that were looking to get started in the business. So I've had this idea to kind of do something similar, because there's so many people in the aviation world that I've met over the last 4 years that are really interesting folks. So I've been, while I've been in the COVID lockdown here, I've been playing with some ways to incorporate some video interviews into a potential live broadcast. So if you guys are into that, feel free to leave some names of people that you think might be interesting to talk to. There's a couple on my mind that I met at Cirrus. That, how many of you folks know that Ivy MacGyver? Let me get my right hand there. Ivy MacGyver, she's the product lady you see in all the Cirrus videos. Another person I'd love to spend some time with is Anthony Bettini, who is the guy that does all of the videos and instruction videos for Cirrus, and they have a wonderful, talented bunch of folks that put together all that Cirrus learning content, which was just great. Okay, now we got some more questions, just when I thought you guys were getting all shy. Jeff Gerber says, what was your Cirrus delivery experience like? Did you get to use the CAP simulator? I'm in line for a December delivery. We'll go backwards. The Cirrus, CAP simulator was not working the week that I was there. But it was okay because I had Ed Waters, okay? What was your Cirrus delivery experience like? I call it the rodeo drive treatment. And when I bought my plane, the Cirrus sales rep out here, Ken Goebel, had called me up and said, hey, there's a general aviation, charity dinner that we're having here in Dale. Dale Klapmeyer, the founder of Cirrus, is going to be honored, and we want to sit at the table with us. I said, great. So Dale Klapmeyer asked me what I thought of the Cirrus delivery experience too, and here's what I told him. I said, it's like the rodeo drive treatment. And if you've ever been down to Rodeo Drive, or your wife's gone down to Rodeo Drive, what they do is they get you in the store and they make you feel like $1 million, okay, in the hopes that you'll spend $1 million. So you come in there and they'll put a robe on your wife and give her a little mimosa and some more champagne and go, honey, you look beautiful. Oh, that dress is you, but these shoes would make it even better. And the long story short, you wind up spending a lot of money, but feeling good about it, and that in a way kind of encapsulates the whole Cirrus delivery experience. When I bought my plane, there was a young gentleman by the name of Justin Dillon who called me up. Not Justin Dillon, sorry, Justin, God, I'm blanking on his last name now. Justin Ketchum, sorry, two Justins. And anyway, he was in charge of the Cirrus piloting thing and so forth, right? And so they asked a bunch of questions. They asked me what my favorite bands were, and he was a big fan of Incubus, this band I managed. Anyway, long story short, my wife and I get to Knoxville, Tennessee. We were staying in the hotel up the runway from the Cirrus delivery center there, and I could see this kind of flashing green and yellow and blue light that looked like a disco down at the end of the runway. So I went out in Knoxville for my evening walk and my equivalent of a little glass of wine at night. You can use your imagination. So I started taking my walk out there, and I kept thinking, well, I'm going to just walk down and see what that light is. So anyway, as you can imagine, it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm walking in the dark, and I get up there and see that it's the hangar where they have the simulator for the Cirrus planes, and off to the left is what looks like the delivery hangar. So sure enough, I look in the window and like a prowler, and I see the tip of a silver plane. I don't know if it's mine or not. Anyway, long story short, the next morning I got back and nobody arrested me for lurking. And the next morning we got there early and we went into the hangar. And when I had spoken to Justin Ketchum, I told him some of my favorite bands were Van Halen, and when I played in golf tournaments, I put on Unchained. So long story short, we walk into the hangar. They have the 3 planes in there. They got rock and roll lighting in this hangar. And as I walk in there, what busts out on the PA system? Unchained by Van Halen. Red carpet to our plane. Long story short, it was the Rodeo Drive on steroids. It was unbelievable. And they really do a great job of making you feel good about spending your money on something you probably realistically don't actually need. But that having said that, I have never regretted even for a second getting our Cirrus. Delivery was unbelievable. I agree, Jay. Justin, with Jason from the Finer Points being so close, I think another video with him would be great. I think it would too, but Jason is a very busy guy now, and He doesn't do a lot of training anymore, but I suppose if I handled him a little bit, we would come up with something else. I've been very lucky, to fly with guys like Jason Miller. Ed Waters, a terrific pilot. Flying with Chuck Calley was fun the other day. My instructor who got me through my PPL and my IFR was a great instructor by the name of Liz DeStefani, who's now the sales director out here in Southern California. So I've been very lucky to hang out with some smarter, much more talented pilots myself, and have managed to learn a trick or two along the way. Okay, what else we got here? Nico from Nico Wings. Okay, I don't know. How did we get to Nico from Nico Wings? Oh, you want to interview Nico from Nico Wings. Yeah, I watched a lot of his videos. He's an interesting character. He's got a little thing going on there, and he loves his Cirrus too. And he's done some good videos. So it's funny, I don't know how many of you folks did, but I think I watched every single freaking Cirrus video while I was waiting for my plane, and I didn't have to wait as long as most folks, because I did that lease back. Got to interview Al Waterloo. Funny you should mention Al Waterloo. We've been trading some emails here recently. I love his stuff, and I've actually, referenced a couple of his videos, which is what I told him when I sent him a note that about the hot starts and so forth. Really, really good stuff, and a really enthusiastic guy. And we were kidding the other day about Al Waterloo, who has that purple Cirrus up there where in his territory. I'm not exactly sure. I guess he's the Minnesota guy. And anyway, Chuck Calley had this very colorful outfit that was kind of that Cirrus carbon blue outfit, and I was kidding him. I said, what are we expecting tomorrow? Your purple outfit, but maybe Al's got that. Anyway, Al's a great guy. I'd love to talk to him. Do you know any musicians who are also pilots? That would probably attract a bunch of listeners. I do, actually. One of my good buddies is a producer by the name of Brendan O'Brien, who, if you're a rock fan, you'd certainly know him. He's produced some of the greatest acts in the business: Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC. Did 2 or 3 records with my buddies in Incubus, and I understand Tim McGraw's a pilot. Steve Morse, who was featured in Copa magazine a while back, is a guitar player from Dixie Dregs and Deep Purple. I understand. Kelly, I'm blanking on her name. Heavyset girl, Kelly. Anyway, she's a pilot, or her husband's a pilot. Jimmy Buffett flies. Strangely enough, David Lee Roth, crazy David Lee Roth, was a pilot as well. I'd actually love to go flying with Diamond Dave, and I'll do the flying. I'll just let him do the radios. Can you imagine? 8 Foxtrots here. Wow! Whoa! Yeah! Lou Dix Aviation, he's a great instructor with camera presence. All right, well, keep those thoughts coming, because I think I'm getting dangerously close. Bruce Dickinson, yeah. Can you imagine this? This is a great rock story, right? Bruce Dickinson, singer of the band, usually the nut jobs in the band. Even back in the day, I used to be a concert where you did a lot of shows with Iron Maiden, so I was well aware of Bruce Dickinson and all the folks. And I remember the first time somebody told me he was a pilot, I thought, well, this guy must not be nearly as crazy as he lets on. And it turns out he was a straight arrow. But I always loved the idea that the singer in the band was also the pilot of the plane, because I could always see him in my mind going, gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, this is your pilot, Bruce Dickinson speaking. And he had a nice little pilot outfit. Anyway, do you do any charity flights like Angel Flight West or Pilots in Pause? I've not done any Angel Flight West stuff. My wife has talked about doing Pilot in Pause, but I can be honest with you, I've only had my own 2 dogs in that plane one time, not the both of them together. We had our big guy, Buck, James Buck Brown, and we got a new dog about a year ago up in Visalia, a black lab by the name of Otis, and Otis came back with us in the plane, so he's got his first flight when he was a puppy. Anyway, Maybe. I probably should do that, see if I can get a better seat in the next world here. So anyway, I see it's getting a little late here now. It's about an hour. So anyway, I just want to thank you all, you guys, for joining me here tonight. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. And I think we should try to do this again, whether it's a sim flight or just doing these pilot reviews. The video that we just did, that was a rough edit. I've kind of gotten a little bit more polished version. I'll be posting that tomorrow morning if you want to go back and check it out without all the chatter here. So I want to thank everybody: Duckbo, Acerag, Jay Stutz, Andrew Sinclair, Greg Jordan, Jay, and so forth and so on. I'm going to forget all you guys, but it's been fun. We'll do this again soon. Be safe out there, and make sure you don't hit the dirt before you're supposed to. My name is Steve Rennie. I am the Ren Baron. This is my Ren Baron Learning to Fly YouTube channel. Good night.